Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the latest episode of Bates Motel. We are on season 4, episode 3, Till Death Do You Part. So, spoiler alert, before I dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be bearing all in this review, and just so you guys know, from now on, I will be watching the episodes live, generally, Pacific Standard Time here in the United States, and then reviewing the show in the morning. So instead of having my review up a couple of hours after the fact, I'm just gonna wake up, start it off fresh, and talk to y'all after I get up the next day. The morning after, as it were. So, just so you know to expect that in the future. And now, time to hone in on last night's events. I am primarily going to focus on the two main plots this week. Those being, of course, Norman's incarceration, as it were, and Norma's marriage. So those are going to be my focuses, although we did, of course, get to have a little bit of Dylan and Emma moments, and then Dylan returns, and his employee quits out of the blue, and Chick shows up black and blue from his little shindig with Caleb, and there are certain murmurings of things that are going to transpire in the future, but as for right now, we have familial matters to discuss, and I believe that those are not only the most important at this point, but arguably the most interesting. There was also a little Bob Paris name drop, and of course there's still questions of where did he go? So all of that I think is going to play into what's going to happen with Alex Romero and how his marriage or his life or Norma's life is potentially going to be jeopardized, and so there's tension to come. If there wasn't already enough madness brewing, within the bounds of their newly minted marriage, well, there's going to be some external forces that are going to meddle with that affair as well. For example, Norman himself. So, my goodness, what an incredible episode. Now, something I want to talk to you guys about, kind of more the end game of the show territory. This is something that I need to kind of brace myself for, so I figure I'll bring it up with you guys. Fact of the matter is, I think at this point, I don't know if Norma's actually going to survive the season. Or Alex, for that matter. I think it is distinctly possible, if not probable, that the season 4 finale is going to end in their deaths. I don't see how, at this point, now that Romero and Norma are together, how long are they going to be able to sustain this impossible relationship, much less keep it from Norman, because that is, of course, going to be the impetus of their demise. So, I'm not begging the question of how long can this last. I don't think it's enough to last, at least a season and a half. We are zeroing in on things, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm starting to wonder if the final season is going to be in full-on psycho territory, with post-Norman running the motel and doing what have you before, ostensibly, the events of the film Psycho. And I don't know how I feel about it, because I always thought the show was going to end with her demise and the birth of Norman and Mother and everything as we know it. But at the same time, the one benefit of potentially offing Norma by the end of this season is that the next season we should still have Vera Farmiga, just as Mother. Because I think that's the point at which Mother is going to return and really start appearing more in Norman's subconscious, because in this episode we see that he has kind of divorced himself from Mother and now sees Mother as Norma, as a separate entity from his mind, from his thoughts, from his twistedness, there is this complete and utter divide within him currently. And I think that it's going to be the death of Norma that fuses Norman and Mother together again, and that, you know, will make him feel as if they always will be together. I mean, it's possible that Mother could start showing up again, but I think that I don't know. These are just kind of my bigger, broader thoughts, because I'm trying to process how the writers and how the showrunners are going about this. But yeah, so Norman is in fact at the nice mental health clinic. Doesn't always feel like such a snazzy place for Norman, and he is in fact for most of the episode quite enraged, and he's just fidgety and at any second just effervescent with this ferocity, this vindictive rage against Norma, for him having to be the one to make the sacrifice for her when it is in fact her ills that are keeping him here. And it's also great because yes, it is her, but her is you, my dear friend. Once again, Freddie Highmore is at the top of his game. He cannot possibly get higher in terms of his skills. And that was a terrible pun. Terrible pun. I am a fan of dropping those every once in a while. But yeah, Freddie is so completely and utterly embodying the psycho role that we've seen from Anthony Perkins in decades past. And I so admire his ability to just go all in with both feet, head under, as is the case with Vera Farmiga too. And in that sense, they are the perfect power couple as far as actors go and as far as characters go. It is a match made in heaven and hell simultaneously, and I could not possibly love it more than I do. Yeah, there were so many interesting moments with Norman. His relationship with his therapist is quite interesting. I'm glad that he's got a fairly put together psychiatrist. Now, this is one of those moments where I wish I could do a little fanfic crossover and have him chat with Mr. Lecter, because can you imagine what Hannibal would do with Mother? Oh baby. We've seen the messes that he has made with Will Graham, and oh, what fun he would have with our beloved Norman Bates. I'm just saying. I know this is not a terribly novel idea, but it's worth reiterating the fact that one of the greatest shows to ever happen to mankind no longer exists, and it could be, brought back into the last second for a little Bates Motel action. But, yeah, I mean, it's good that he has a very patient therapist, one whom he is now told of his mother's murderous ways, he being Norman, that is. But yeah, so he's not exactly adjusting well. He has become a man on a mission, as it were. If he is going to be in prison, he sees this as a prison. I'm not saying that these types of facilities are prisons, but for Norman, it is. Because he sees himself as being coerced into this position, that he is the scapegoat for what Norma has done. And so it's interesting because not only does he want to truly be one with Norma and together with her, he wants to seal their fates. He wants them to be in the same boat. And so he is now in the process of trying to get Norma arrested, which is quite the conundrum. I mean, yes, Norma she's got a bit of a body count on her end as well, but it is nothing that can quite match the score that Mother has racked up at this point. But yeah, this is not only to get to justice, but it is to really seal their togetherness, for them to be one in their respective states, because he he feels that it's wrong for her to go free, for her to put him in this place of isolation and to drive this stake in their joined heart, you know? So quite an interesting little plan he's hatched, and also an interesting plan hatched on Norma's part as she officially gets hitched to Romero, the single most awkward matrimonial service that I have ever witnessed. The way that Vera Farmiga has Norma like say, "I know," when she's asked to say her vows was really quite priceless. And then, of course, immediately Norma is throwing herself into the plight of Norman and is utterly consumed with their reconciliation to the point that she couldn't even possibly entertain the idea of enjoying her newly married state. And this is, of course, her third marriage. Third time's the charm, or the harm, let's say. But yeah, so she and Romero have constantly been encircling each other and drawing ever nearer throughout the past few seasons, and so it's so interesting to find them both under the same roof and legally wed to one another, but still there is this distance, there is this anxiety and uncertainty, and it's something that has perpetuated their relationship pretty much since the start. And of course Norma is ready to go in with her fists swinging and as combatant as ever, but they do have that nice little honeymoon dinner where they talk about their crazy divorces and, you know, who you've been sleeping with. I don't know who you sleep with. These are the things that, you know, that truly create intimacy. But, you know, so Norma gets a little liquored up. Nothing happens that night, of course, but after she is unable to get Norman to forgive her, she is broken and devastated to the point that she finally decides, yes, I do want to consummate this marriage right here, right now. And that is the kind of moment that indicates to me that her fate is sealed. Yes, she may have tucked away her wedding ring when she went to visit Norman, but, you know, say, like, well, of course, now Norman is trying to execute this arrest Norma plan, so I don't know when the beans are going to get spilled. I don't know how. I mean, perhaps Romero is going to be able to help bail Norma out of this. There is, of course, the issue of the pit that, yeah, it's being filled, but one of the construction workers found an earring, and there's all these indications that a body is going to come up, and the blame is going to get pinned on some donkey. But who's it going to be? I don't know. And at this point, I'm just like, how is Norman going to be able to walk free and to operate this business with this move that he's pulling? But Lord knows, man. Trusting the writers to take us through to the end, and the ride is exhilarating as ever. So thank you so much for watching my review. If there's anything else that you want to discuss at length, any scenes you want to pick apart, any moments that really grabbed you, I'd love to hear about those in the comments and chat with you as soon as I can. So you guys, take care of yourselves, please. And as always, I will be back before you know it.